which reminds me, we'll be not here tomorrow.
We'll be multiple places,
Exactly.
none of them being here.
Exactly.
We've made it another trip around the sun.
Exactly. We'll be back at the VMP in 2020.
Yeah.
Which will be Thursday. We come back. We don't come back Monday like some places. We'll be back here Thursday.
New year, new me?
New year, new me? New year, same me.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I lose a little bit of weight next year, but I'm not going to lie to myself and make that a promise to myself.
I've done this too many times.
I know, right?
I've seen me lie to myself.
Exactly.
This is going to be the breakout year, though.
So this is the first Tuning Tuesday I've done in a couple weeks since I was gone.
This is the first Tuning Tuesday I've ever done.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, for those that haven't watched any other thing that we put out, this is Chuck.
I've never seen VMP before.
Exactly. I tune stuff. My name's Joe, and Chuck does sales, marketing, website, kind of everything right now.
Day-to-day business type stuff. Not a tuner.
Not a tuner. So he's here to answer sales side of questions, and I'm here to answer tuning side of questions. So whatever questions you might have, whether it be 2018, 2019 Mustang, 2015 and 2017, 11 to 14, 05 to 10, 96 to 04, F-150.
C63 Mercedes.
You want to talk about C63 AMGs? Ooh. E63s, S63s, SL63s, ML63s.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a hot button with you there.
I know, I like them all.
Anything with gigantic German V8s.
The itch that needs scratched. And then behind the keyboard, the wizard that's feeding us your questions is Brian.
Legitimately the guy that makes this whole thing happen.
So you were gone for the holidays. You took vacation. I took vacation.
Yep.
I believe you were in Texas.
I went to Houston, yeah. Drove
so
there.
All the Houston boys. Chuck was in your neighborhood not too long ago.
Hanging out, cruising your streets.
And I was just at the house and here at work. I was supposed to be on vacation because
we're doing fun stuff.
I do bad stuff like that.
The wife.
Yeah,
not
wife
amused.
was not happy with that. But we're here.
That's because you're dedicated, though. Dedicated to making some freaking horsepower.
Dedicated spelled D-E-A-D, right?
Yeah.
Travis Shot, don't forget, new decade, new opportunities. Very true. 2020 GT500, this is the year that we get a GT500 back.
2020 GT500.
If you don't count the S into 2019. Yeah. Which to me, there's not enough people that actually have the cars to say it's the year of the GT500.
There's like 6 people.
Yeah.
We can't even count that.
Yeah.
They are showing up more rapidly now, though. I feel like the initial
floodgates are opening.
Yeah. We kind of have something going on there.
Yeah. They'll see soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Tonight, tomorrow.
You know, it could really happen whenever.
we don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Godspeed. Send it. How much timing can you run on a full bolt-on E85 second-gen Coyote? If we're talking 15 to 17 Mustang stock cams, and you're saying full bolt-on in the sense that it's cold air injectors, operating at sea level, so load probably around 0.95, 1.05 at peak. You could probably get 30 to 32 in it. I know some people go crazier than that, but frankly, I'm more of like a 28 to 31 type of guy.
Snow under pressure is a bad thing.
Well, not only that, you don't need a lot with the E85. It takes as much as you want to throw at it as long as you don't run into mechanical problems, but to me, you only need to achieve maximum brake torque and then just stop. Why keep advancing it when you don't need to?
Would there be like additional power gains past that point, or is you just...
Not usually, no. Usually power goes pretty flat. It's like a curve or a hook, and when you get to the peak of the hook, it just starts going the opposite way.
Right.
So for those that don't know and they see Jesse Spiker's name pop up, that's one of the guys out in the shop. He says, can you guys tune my 94 show? Where is that? Is that back there anymore?
It's back there.
Okay. Yeah, is it just on the other side of the Explorer or something?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I haven't seen it. I'm like, where did it go?
What's left of it?
Yeah, it's so sad. Is that video ever going to drop?
Oh, probably not.
Sad.
It's a 92 SHO, by the way.
So we've got Ismo Morales. Can you tune a 2013 Boss 302 that has the red key active with an engage? I believe so.
I think it's only on Engage. I don't think SET can retain the track key.
No, they can't. They don't have the track key side of logic enabled to where we can actually keep it. So no, I've never gone through the trouble of trying. And I've had a few people ask about it. I should probably get a yay or nay on that, but I'm not absolutely positive. I think we can though.
Induction addiction. I can actually answer this question because I had a 2.7 EcoBoost and an F-150, 17 F-150. I did a drop-in K&N, and then I did the engine evolution cold air, 3-wheel horsepower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Probably something to do with dyno accuracy and ambient air temp, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say a tune is very good money on a 2.7 EcoBoost truck.
Yeah.
I'd get tuned before I got cold air.
Yeah, 100%.
And then boosted F-150, best Coyote-based F-150 in combo to go fast with $45,000 total budget for the truck and mods and labor. Ooh, with labor. That's where it gets tricky. If you're doing it yourself, which boosted F-150, for those that don't know, is Dorian Johnson.
Oh.
I don't know, Dorian, I'd say your build's probably pretty close to that. If you're talking about buying a truck new, that's where things get really tight. If you're talking about buying a used truck for like a lower-ish mileage used truck, $25,000 to $30,000 range, depending options, 4-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive, cab size, all that stuff, I'd say a blower E85 long tubes, a set of traction bars, whoever you choose, and a set of tires, and that's a really fun truck.
Yeah.
Even if it's just on a gasoline-based fuel and you're running something like Boostane just to boost performance a little bit, or the ability to make more power, I'd say that's a good option as well.
But you said
you
what
already
year
know
range?
this stuff, man.
What year range did you say for the truck itself?
I'd get a 15 to 17 truck or an 18, 19 truck. The 15, 17 trucks are going to be a skosh cheaper, and it seems like, I shouldn't say the 18, 19 engines are hit or miss. There's guys that have problems with them, and there's a lot of guys that don't.
The Gen 2s are more, like, overall seem to be more reliable.
Yeah, from a reliability standpoint, the Gen 2s are definitely more reliable, but for what we'll call a mild boost setup on E85, the Gen, it's hard to beat the power a Gen 3 makes, and the fun you're going to get from driving a 10-speed truck.
10R80 goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Have you guys installed and tuned a 2018 up F-150 with Odin supercharger yet? No. Hotshot BQ35. Oh God, we got a Nissan boy in here. You guys are putting a Gen 3 on my 16 in a few weeks. I'll be using your tune. Is your tune pretty spot on, or will I have a bunch of revisions? I live 3 hours away.
Oh man, how many 16 GTs have you tuned with a Gen 3?
I don't want to try to count.
It will be on point, man. We will send you out of here with the car running great.
Exactly. And then Stu Boyce, I'm going supercharged and did a level 1 to level 3 upgrade. What logs do VMP require first? Idle and slow revs. So typically with, so you previously have a tune from us and you're doing a level 3 upgrade. The first thing we're going to be doing is, based on your mods and your tune order request, we'll send you a base file. We'll send you the instructions of what we want to see in there. Generally speaking, what we want to see first is an idle slow rev, like you were saying, with the vehicle already at operating temperature. Don't send us a cold start log. The wide bands aren't active. The fueling's not as accurate as it usually is during a hot running, been running for a while type of log. So send us a vehicle completely up to operating temperature, idle slow rev log with the parameters that we specify. Please watch the videos before you do any data logging if you haven't done it before. We have a lot of videos that make the process really seamless in terms of, if you have any sort of reading or visual comprehension skills and you pay attention and you do what's in the video, the process is going to go by a lot faster for you.
Yeah. And then the idle slow rev, what you guys are looking there for, is basically like your O2 readings for air fuel, and then also like MAF readings, right?
Yeah,
basically without putting a load on the engine, you're trying to kind of make sure.
We're trying to see how close all the fueling stuff is at the lower portion of the MAF. Being that it's a function instead of a 3D table, we can kind of, generally speaking, get a good idea as to whether or not we're in the ballpark or not, or if anything needs adjusted before we go to watt, because you can kind of see how closely it's tracing to the trend line, and from there you can kind of judge, all right, it looks like everything was done right from an install standpoint, so like your IAT2s aren't anything crazy, which usually means your intercooler pump's working good. Your fuel trims are plus or minus a few percent. We know that our mass air transfer function for whatever you have installed in the car is accurate, at least in the bottom half. That gives us a reasonable suspicion that towards the top half of it, we're still going to be good unless you have a fuel delivery issue.
I feel like idle slow revving, you're not like putting your rods and pistons at danger really. If something is
14 auto with CJ setup, cat deletes, E85 and gutted. Do you think I gap a bolt-on E85 10 or 80 car? No.
As a 10 or 80 car owner with bolt-ons and E85, they're pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on how gutted you're talking about the car being. A 10 or 80 car stays in the quote-unquote power band very nicely. And if it's tuned on E85, he's revving up just about as high as you are. Keon, he was the guy that came down here not too long ago. The guy with the Hellcat. Isn't that him?
Maybe.
Well, let's read it first. Hey guys, good to see you all again. It's been a minute. But I have a question. I have a flamethrower tune in my Hellcat making 863 horsepower. Is that actually safe for the motor? I'm not sure what you mean by a flamethrower tune. I'm not familiar with
We were talking about backfire of the exhaust just this morning.
Yeah, and I don't know by what means they're making it generate flames.
Right. If you have cats on the car, I can almost say it's probably bad for it. But
yeah, I can say that's pretty certain.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good for it. Your EGTs are going to cook the cats. But yeah, without really knowing what you're talking about, I can't really say. Derek Sizemore, how much power would one pick up from a Roush 2.3 to a Gen 3R, both running 69 millimeter, 5% lower, all else being the same? Pulley for pulley, the Gen 3R makes about 3 to 4 pounds more than a 2.3 liter rotor set. So just from the boost alone, you'd be probably 60 to 80 horsepower, and then the efficiency is usually a little bit more than that. So potentially everything in the setup working well and you having everything you need to support the bigger blower, 80 to 100 horsepower possibly. I don't want to oversell it, but that's not really uncommon for the stuff that we do here.
It's kind of like what we see, going from the Roush 2.3 especially instead of like a Gen 2R, like the Roush 2.3 to a Gen 3R, and that's pretty sizable gain.
Exactly. And then Michael Hernandez, what's new with Chucky? Not a damn thing. We haven't done anything with Chucky in a while.
No, we brought it back from Cletus and Cars after the Burnout comp, and we've just been doing Odin and GT500 things.
Yeah, we've been very, very busy. Chucky's kind of like one of those things where we do it when we have time.
Yeah, I think the next thing to do is just pill it till we kill it, right?
Yeah, we could do that. Or we could put a blower on it. But I mean,
we do that all the time, though.
Yeah.
I'm about the nitrous life.
How many of you guys want to see us do something different other than the nitrous, or do you want to see us go all the way with the nitrous setup? Let us know in the comments. Michael Hernandez. Oh, that's the same guy. Sorry. Boosted F-150. So Dorian, my vote is 15 to 17 or 18 truck. It really depends on what your budget allows. I like my 15 and 17 truck. The 18 trucks, like I said before, are nice because of the Gen 3 Coyote. They get the same compression as a Mustang and the 10 or 80.
I just feel like if you could find like a standard cab work truck, Gen 3 Coyote, you know, an 18 with like 50,000 miles on it or something that somebody just drove and bought, and cloth seats, you could probably pick that up for like low 20s, right?
Yeah, depending, like if you're saying like 50,000 miles, probably 25,000.
Really? They're still that expensive?
Yeah, they're not too crazy cheap. The F-150s do hold their value decently well.
Right, yeah.
And then
that was when I had my EcoBoost 17. That was like the thing that blew my mind. I traded it in for the wife's vehicle, and it was like it hadn't devalued that much over the course of like 70,000 miles I put into it. And I was expecting to get like nothing for it, and they came back, they're like, yeah, we'll give you like 29. I was like, wait, what?
Whoa, wow. Okay, that sounds great. And then Keon, basically it shoots flames when I decelerate from a high RPM. So it's just negative spark retard and not allowing it to go open loop fuel cutoff. So it's not going to be good from a catalytic converter standpoint, and whether or not it's going to be good at all really depends on how crazy negative they're going on timing.
Can't that be hard on mufflers as well?
Yeah, it can be hard on anything that's
that hot.
Yeah, I mean, technically you could burn exhaust valves and stuff if you go in it for too crazy long, but I don't want to scare you, but I mean, cars weren't necessarily meant to do that, so making them do that kind of has some inherent unnatural side effects. But that's not to say it's not going to live a long time. I mean, if you want it to live like a stock car, leave it stock. If you want it to do cool, fun things, then you got to be okay with kind of a give and take.
Right.
Tony Bolton, methanol injection on centrifugal blower with tune or okay without. Technically, you don't need a tune to run methanol injection on just about anything. It depends on how crazy you're going with pilling it for methanol. If you're going with a crazy nozzle size, technically a tune update probably wouldn't be a bad idea just to keep it from going like 10-0 at watt.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's...
If you're not tuned for meth and you run it, it's probably fine. If you're tuned for meth and you don't run it, is when you have real problems.
Then that's when you have a bad time. Let's see you get one. We got Roush LC3, or no, we got pros and cons of evap delete on 2012 GT.
I'll let you handle that.
With Gen 2R. To me, there are no pros, only cons, and if your tuner is following the law, you're going to not pass an emissions test if you ever took one. Yeah, and you're going to have a check engine light, so I don't see the point in deleting it.
Leads us right up into Roush LC3 Sam's comment of, I'm doing long tubes on my 17 Roush. Will I have a check engine light on? Yes. And since I'm going no cats, I'll need a tune, right? Also correct. Yeah.
I live in West Virginia, so emissions is nothing. That's regardless. It's federal emissions is the issue, at least from a tuning and check engine light standpoint.
Yeah, we're happy to tune it.
Yeah, we're happy to tune your car. We're not going to shut off a light for catalytic converters, and we're not going to do anything illegal there. Yeah. So the only thing that we really do for long tubes is we modify the transport delay that tells the ECU that the O2 sensors are a little bit further back, so there's going to be a little bit more time between when the fuel or the burnt fuel and oxygen are leaving the exhaust valve to when it's seen by the O2 sensor. And if you have catalytic converters removed from the vehicle, we won't prevent check engine lights or any type of emissions components, but there's a logic in the ECU called cap protection. That logic's there to enrich the air-fuel mixture to keep the catalytic converters cooler. There's stuff we can do with that to where it doesn't enrich like crazy at wide open throttle. And
I didn't realize that there was actually like a function inside of the tuning mechanism to the delay between the exhaust valve and the O2 sensor. So it actually calculates that.
Yeah, and it's not something that's super critical that you even modify because it learns it. It's kind of like it's a closed loop setup in the sense that it attempts to learn the delay between when an event happens and when that event is seen by the O2 sensor.
Huh.
So that's kind of like, stuff like that helps transient events.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty technical stuff.
They've had that since like forever.
Really?
Yeah, like EC5 should have that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would not expect that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
R for R4. All right, whatever. 2012 GT500 with a VMP Gen 3, P1228, popping up stating bypass valve failed to open under pressure. Any solutions, way to test what it could be before I replace the bypass valve. Reach out to sales support, or I don't know who's tuning the car, but if someone else is tuning the car, let us know when you're reaching out to sales and support, and we can kind of help guide you through that. We got Travis Schott.
Yeah, basically explaining what we were telling him.
Yeah, exactly. Telling LC3 Sam that you will need a tune when doing long tubes, and we'll have a check engine light on since it won't be picking up the things it normally does at the O2 sensors. Exactly, Travis. I appreciate you answering for Roush LC3. So there's internet controversy. I will only touch lightly on this. Internet controversy on the whole video we did of replacement for displacement on Robert Jones's GT500.
Yep.
He brought it to us to try and make more power than he was making. At the end of the day, he made more power. I know there was comments about our blower making less torque, and that's if you're looking at torque at 3,500 to 4,500 RPM, where torque technically peaks, where it shows on a dyno graph.
Right.
In order to make more horsepower at 6,500 RPM, you have to be making more torque at 6,500 RPM. So, ta-da! The way that Gen 3, Gen 3R make boost compared to a larger displacement supercharger, we may make the same peak boost. We'll call it 2626. So when you look at the chart and you see 26 psi boost, or you hear us say 26 psi boost, that's not 26 psi boost at 2,000 RPM and 26 at 6,500. That's like rough numbers, I don't remember offhand. It's like 18, 19 at 3,000 RPM, and it's 26 at like 6,500 RPM. So if your torque peak is at 3,500 RPM to 4,000 RPM, but you're at 22 pounds of boost with one supercharger and 26 with the other, then yes, of course, if you're looking at the torque peak, you're making less torque at that specified RPM. But if you're looking at torque through the entire curve, and one setup is making more horsepower peak, at that peak horsepower, that car is making more torque.
Right.
That's the way the calculation works. And that's all I have to say about that. As Forrest Gump would say.
I've read a lot of the comments and the forum posts and stuff about it, and it's like, at the end of the day, we tried to do what I would consider
We tried to make it as
comparison.
apples as we could,
Like,
in the sense that we made, like you were alluding to, we made the test as fair as possible. We could have just made it a test of how the car came in versus how the car came out.
Yep.
And that would have looked really fucking bad.
Yeah, because it came in making a lot less than what we showed.
Yeah, exactly.
And to even further prove this point, we actually swapped the throttle body on it to one of our others, and we picked up an additional 13 wheel.
Yeah.
But we didn't even include that in the video because, well, apples to apples, we knew this would happen.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I question whether or not it's worth it anymore, because it's like, you know what, we'll just do our own thing. If you guys are just going to pick apart everything we do, we won't put out any videos for you if you're just going to pick them apart. But
the videos are done.
Exactly. But I'm excited to see what Robert Jones does out of the track. Brian's crying in the corner.
We need to keep Brian employed, so the videos will continue. But.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to that end, I'm excited to see what Robert does with the car. I'd expect either way it's going to, I shouldn't say it's going to, either way it has a very high degree of probability that it's going to be faster at the track.
Yep.
And do with that information what you will.
Yeah.
It should be a fun car. It's his car. He has fun with it.
He's a personal friend of mine. He's stoked with it. He's happy with the car and where we put it, and how it's at, and he's already making plenty of call-outs. So go follow the Mayor Racing for all the entertainment.
For all the laughs. And then we've got Steve Brum. So on 2011 GT500s, what's needed to run E85 besides injectors and pumps? Car makes 704 on pump gas with boostane and a Gen 1, trying to squeeze out everything on the setup. So if you're trying to squeeze out everything on the setup and you're on pump gas with boostane, technically you can go race gas. And I don't know what your timing's at and everything, because I don't recognize your name. I'm not tuning your car. So I couldn't tell you how much you'd stand to gain going to an actual race fuel like C16, MS109, MS109 or something like that. But the statement stands to be true that you can make just as much or close to just as much on a race fuel as you can on E85. The benefit to E85 being that the cost per gallon is less. The cost of entry on a setup where you're forced induction is pretty high, though, being that you have to put a fuel system and injectors in the car. So,
it's a tough one to answer without data logs and stuff.
to his direct question of what's needed to run E85, it's injectors and pumps, that's it. And then a tune update for E85. But I just want to make sure you're going down the right path based on how much fuel you're going to be running. If this is a car you drive a lot and you have E85 close by, E85 is probably a good option for you. If this is a car that you do not drive a lot, you don't put many miles on, race gas may be a better option for you. It saves you from having to do the injectors and fuel system, at least if we're talking about boost for boost, what you're running on a car with gasoline-based fuel and boostane.
Yeah, it would take up a lot of, a few tanks at least to make up the difference on what you'd have to pay to switch over to E85.
Yeah. Exactly.
Travis shot the 2020 GT500 supercharger breakdown video Justin did, was quite interesting.
Awesome. We're glad you liked that. The guy who's behind all this was behind the editing of that video.
Yep.
So.
B. Ryan again.
B. Rye with the kill. Exactly. We got Derek Sizemore again on Gen 3R. Would I need a 15% lower and a 69mm pulley to make 1,000 wheel horsepower on a built 10-to-1 Coyote through an auto, or 5% lower would be enough? You got a 10-to-1 motor, put a fucking lower pulley on it. You need all the boost you can get with a 10-to-1 motor to make power at the wheels. And 1,000 wheel, I think you were saying your 14 GTA6. I can't see any of the other stuff. Yeah, if you're talking about 1,000 wheel through an auto on a 10-to-1 motor, you're going to need a 15% lower.
Yeah, all the boost. Before I started working, I didn't realize how much compression really affects horsepower numbers.
Yeah, especially if we're talking Coyote stuff, small displacement compression stuff. When you're talking about moderate boost levels, it's almost stupid to drop them down to 10-to-1 compression unless you're going to be running like 35 pounds of boost. No offense, obviously, but it is what it is. Keon, what would you suggest, or would you suggest using nitrous to help my 60-foot, and how much would be enough of a shot?
That's a really open-ended question.
Yeah,
Depends.
I mean, if we're talking a Hellcat, weight's going to be the biggest thing that's going to help your 60-foot, but it's hard to pull a lot of weight out of those.
He said he made 863. And then the other thing I'll say is that if you're going to spray the car, spray it all the way down the track.
Yeah, I know that Matt was talking about how cars that he tunes tend to 60-foot a lot better than what other tuners tune. So if you're not tuned by us, that may be something you may want to consult Matt about. I know that he's able to get some 60-foot out of those cars. I
know that blower cars love nitrous, man.
Everything loves nitrous.
Hey.
Chemically injected oxygen.
Hellcats have 4 legs. I got it. All right.
Yeah, see what you did there. And then we got Chad Dowd. At what point have you guys seen the need to go from 6-rib, 8-rib to 10-rib? So that point is, you get a bit more headroom on that point, it seems, going to Gen 3, Gen 3R. We've done crazier things boost for boost on 6-rib with Gen 3Rs compared to what we had to do with 2300. I believe that has to do with the efficiency and what parasitic loss it has at a set blower drive speed with Gen 3R versus what we have with 2300.
Didn't we make the 803 on the Odin kit with the 6-rib setup?
With Odin?
On the Shop 18, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a 12-to-1 setup. If I recall correctly, this Chad has a 11-to-14 car and 11-to-1 setup, so I don't really want to quote horsepower numbers and stuff like that, but with 6-rib stuff, especially if you're talking about Grip Tech 6-rib, I wouldn't be scared of running 20, 22 pounds on a 6-rib setup. Most of the time, the line would be drawn at about 17, 18 pounds with a properly sized belt and something like a Scott Hasty bracket. That's where I'd just moved straight into a 10-rib, and frankly, I'd just move straight into a 10-rib setup with a crank support if I was going to do anything.
Shout out to Chad, though. He put a spanking on a Turbo LS Fox.
Oh, man.
Saw him posting some videos on the Instagram.
I got to check him out again. It's been a while since I looked at his videos.
I hate those cars. I hate anything Turbo LS in a Fox body. I hate it.
You and Grant can go hard together.
5.3.
There was that meme that was going around this morning that was, it's a little boy crying holding the gun. That's like when you have to put your buddy that LS swapped his Mustang down.
I feel that on a personal level.
Oh, man. You and Grant would get along great with that. And then we got Jasper, 2011 NA with 18 manifold PMOS Colder. How much more horsepower and torque can I add coming from 91 and Mustang to E85 tune? Is it worth going E85? So if you're going to go E85, you're going to need a set of injectors and a tune.
I feel like
if you're running 91 and Mustang, the gains are going to be very small going to E85.
Yeah.
We can kind of make it hit harder on E85 because we know the octane's always going to be there. We don't got to kind of like creep up on it like we would typically do with 91 and Mustang. So from that standpoint, your 60-foot may be a bit better on E85, but if you're roll racing on the street, you're probably not going to see too terribly much of a difference.
It'll be cheaper
on E85
in the long run.
Yeah, it will be cheaper in the long run if you're putting any type of miles on this car and you have E85 local and available. and they're not getting crazy money for it, it would be cheaper to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the horsepower on an NA setup. Now, boosted application, I feel like
Not only that, an NA setup that's already running 91 and boosting.
Boosting, right?
Yeah, so he's already got most of the advantage that you'd normally have going to 85. Joe Blow, have a built 5.2 cross-plane crank, ported heads, 12-to-1, stage 2 cams, NA with lockouts. Can I run a blower without making changes? If you got the right fuel, yeah. That shouldn't be an issue. And
I heard those cranks don't like blowers.
That's cross-plane crank, though.
Oh, okay, cross-plane, yeah,
CPC, so he's like, chances are he's a 3.7 bore,
right.
Cross-plane, standard 5-liter crank car.
Every time I think 5.2, I think flat plane.
Yeah.
Just like
gotta
immediately
get out
when I
of
go
that.
to.
Now we got GT500,
Oh,
and
man.
we've got the 5.2 XS from Ford Racing.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
cross-plane.
yeah.
Yeah, we got fancy things.
They're still making the GT350 though, right? Is there a 2020 GT? So that motor still has.
That's still flat plane crank.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they didn't just do away with it though.
No, they didn't. Ah, that's the thing I didn't think about. We can't do those cams firing order.
Oh yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Why we didn't order them?
Yeah, exactly.
Revelations with Joe.
I know, right? And then Hetzler, Happy New Year's, guys. Would you recommend oil pump gears when doing an Odin supercharger and running moderate boost? Looking to make about 750 to 800 wheel horsepower, if that is feasible. 2019 GT.
I always recommend oil pump gears.
It's kind of like one of those. I always say this: if you think you should be wearing a condom, you should probably be wearing a condom.
Oh gosh.
If you think you need oil pump gears, you should probably just go ahead and get them, because you're going to kick yourself in the ass when 9 months down the road, little baby oil pump gear exits your oil pump.
It's an awfully specific time frame.
I know, right? That's weird. And we're going to have to research this more.
The thing about like oil pump gears that sucks, in my opinion, is that they're good until they're not.
Yeah, to me, it's not like headers. It's not like you don't do headers and you don't get the power gains from it. If you have an oil pump gear failure and you're not hyper vigilant on oil pressure, and you're not hyper vigilant on what's going on with your car,
yeah, that's all,
and
folks.
you run it for like a minute or 2 minutes with the oil pump gears broken, you're done.
Yep.
That's a new motor, and it's relatively cheap insurance, if you want to call it that, to just do oil pump gears and crank sprocket.
Gen 3 Coyotes are not cheap motors.
They're not, and that's not to say that you putting a blower on is going to automatically mean that you're going to break oil pump gears or crank sprocket. That's just to say that if you have the coin to spare to do oil pump gears and crank sprocket, it's relatively cheap insurance considering the alternative should you have an issue with the stock oil pump gear.
We'll go quick. I want to ask you a quick question on this because I've heard conflicting opinions. So, oil pump gears are not necessarily susceptible to horsepower increase as they are to RPM increase or rev limiter activities.
Yeah, I think the causal situation you run into is that you make more power, you spend more time at or near the limiter.
Okay, so yeah, it's the cause and causation thing here.
Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily the horsepower that's killing them. It's what happens when you've added that horsepower.
Gotcha. So would you say that a stock car is less likely, if driven the same as an 800 horsepower car, is a stock car as likely to break oil pump gears?
I'd say it's a tiny bit less likely.
But not significant.
But I don't think I've seen cars without a power adder break oil pump gears.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess it'd be kind of frustrating being a doctor and not really having a complete data set and having people be like, so what are the chances I'm going to have a heart attack? What type of food do you eat? Well, I don't know, you use stuff. Okay, so do you work out? No, sometimes.
What is working out?
Yeah, no one can forecast this stuff. No one can tell you it's absolutely going to happen, and it's absolutely not going to happen. Therefore, situations like that, if you have a concern about what happens if you have a heart attack, do I have the money to pay for this heart attack? That's why people get insurance. They don't get insurance because they know they're going to be healthy. They have insurance in case something bad happens.
Yeah.
So the insurance here being
oil pump gears.
You have aftermarket oil pump gears that you technically shouldn't have an issue with, so that you don't have to worry about losing an engine.
Right. And if you're doing the blower install yourself, you're going to have the car torn down enough
At
already.
least 70. it's such a slippery slope because it's like, you don't really have to take off too much to do oil pump gears, but you're going to have to take off significantly more if you wait till after the blower install to do the oil pump gears. Yep. Yep.
Or if you don't do the oil pump gears and they fail.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
You're really in the weeds with work.
Exactly. So we got the Happy New Year out. Jesse Spiker. What's up with the Matt Casati guy? Where is he? So he's, Jesse, again, works here. So he's making fun of the fact that Matt's on vacation right now.
It says karate.
Matt Karate.
Oh, Matt Karate. My bad, dog. My bad. Matt Karate. Different person. Not really different person. Comes back
doesn't Jesse have work to do?
He must be doing it while he's timing something. You know, like have it going on one screen, and then when he finishes something, just tap, 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 and then just like goes back to it. Jeff Scarland, 1950 F-150. I've purchased headers, 1850 intake, cold air intake, and tuning. The headers are already on and running fine with an OEM tune. Will it run decent with an 18 GT intake prior to tune?
A 19 F-150 with headers.
Mm-hmm.
A cold air intake.
So he's talking about changing nothing else. He already has a car or truck that runs good.
Yeah.
He's just going to change the intake. He's wondering if it's still going to run decent with the intake manifold.
On an OEM tune?
He's not on an OEM tune. He's on an aftermarket tune. But that's regardless.
Okay.
The aftermarket tune isn't for 18 GT intake. It's for the 18 F-150 intake.
Gotcha. Okay.
So basically he's talking about intake manifold versus intake manifold untuned. What are the drawbacks? Like, what am I going to run into? So, in theory, the truck should run fine as long as you did your install well and you're still maintaining the use of IMRCs. The IMRC slope transfer functions are the same with a F-150 as they are with a Mustang, so you don't have to worry about conflicting slope stuff. The only thing you got to worry about is that the manifold dynamics in VE are a little bit different with the 1850 manifold versus the 18 truck manifold, or Mustang versus truck manifold. They're both 5.0s. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to run like crap. If you're still using the same map sensor, I find that a lot of times it's only a few % difference, and it's mainly in a couple weighting factors that you'll have, like there's a hair on the table, that you have fuel trims go a little bit more out of whack than I would typically prefer. But it will certainly run better with a tune, extending the shift points, extending the rev limiter and stuff like that. Michael Callahan.
Purchased an Odin kit for my 18 F-150 with vacay package install. January install still, getting anxious. As far as I've been told.
Yeah, as far as with the information we currently have available to us, me being me and Chuck, January install should still look good.
Yep.
And then we got Bradley Edwards does 100 octane race fuel and 100 octane 93 and Boostane tune the same? Not necessarily. So 100 octane race fuel depends on what race fuel you're talking about. That's 100 octane. So the stoic point between race fuels and standard pump gasoline, we'll call it E10 mixed in with Boostane. Your stoic point on most E10 Boostane cars is going to be the exact same across all of them. The stoic point with 100 octane race fuels are going to vary based on the brand of fuel that you're using and the model of fuel that you're using. Like Sunoco 260 GT has a different stoic point from a gasoline-based fuel at 10% ethanol content. So the things that we have to do with a race fuel tune are different from what we do with a Boostane and 93 tune. That's typically why when we're doing dedicated race fuel stuff, we actually get race fuel money for the tune update, because there's race fuel level of things we have to do as compared with what we do with like a 93 in Boostane or a 91 in Boostane. And then we got Pat Fomore. All right, you got this one.
Oh man, will boosted pump and injectors be enough to support 6 to 650 horsepower on E85? Well, I have to get a fuel system. Doesn't that, I feel like that largely depends on the car.
So what dictates that you have adequate fuel supply?
Your fuel pumps.
That and?
Injectors.
And?
The voltage.
Yes, and? So he's on one side of things, I'm on the other side. So fuel, the amount of necessary fuel flow on an engine is dictated by the amount of airflow going into it.
Oh, okay.
So we could have an engine that's running at 15 pounds of boost, but has timing dialed back so far that it's only making 600 to 650 horsepower.
Right.
So it's not so much horsepower that dictates how much fuel you need. It's the
more
airflow
airflow.
you use to get to that horsepower
That makes sense.
dictates that. So if we're talking, he doesn't say anything about what type of car. Let's just say you're talking about a 11 to 17 5-liter F-150 or Mustang. If you're running that setup on a boosted pump and you have adequate injectors for E85, the boost level at which you start to drastically drop in fuel pressure is about that 8 to 10 psi mark. If you're going to run over 8 to 10 psi, just don't try and run E85 on a boosted pump. You're going to have a bad time one day, and you're going to be mad at whoever's tuning your car, and you shouldn't be. If you want to run E85, put a fuel system in your car, period. End of story. Have a nice day. If you don't want to put a fuel system in it, run it on 93 and boosting. Also have a nice day. Travis shot. We could call those Jovelations, little Joel.
Isn't that a book in the Bible? I don't know.
We ain't gonna go down that road. Funny though, Travis. I like it, Brian. Stu Boyce, VMP tune on 2016 GT, 2.3 TVS, 79mm poly E85 tune. When I fill up an E85 pump, what percentage ethanol can the car tolerate? E.g., if a tank measures E60 instead of E85, will that be okay?
Didn't you say it's E50 is the breaking point?
E54.
Oh.
So it'll be a little bit
Very
rich.
specific.
Yeah. Well, there's states that run E54 at the pump.
Oh.
Like it's called E54, it's not called E85. So like that's why I draw the line in the sand at E54, because that's a relatively common nomenclature that's out there.
I remember when I was in the Focus ST community, E30 was a popular blend that you would go
Yeah,
with.
E30 is where you still have a pretty large amount of gasoline in there, so your required fuel mass doesn't get too crazy at E30, and you start going more and more, and it's like, all right, the scale's tipping quickly.
I remember a thread on the Focus ST forums of a guy that had run his car out of gas looking for an E30 station.
Oh, God.
It's one of those threads you can't make up, like walnut blasting your engine by putting the intake in there.
Oh, bother. So yeah, to that end, you could technically run E60 in a car that's tuned for E85. It's not ideal. It will run. It'll just be a little bit rich. If you have an O2 fault for whatever reason, let's say one of your heater circuit goes out and it goes open loop at watt, it'll just be richer than what we want at watt. If the closed loop fuel control is still working, at wide open throttle, part throttle cruise, you'll have short-term fuel trim correction of about 15-ish%, probably possibly closer to 20, most likely not 20, and it'll run whatever we command it to run. And that looks like everything.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
And it's 2:31. Damn,
Wow,
we're on time
look at
today.
that. Punctual.
Say what?
I was just.
Wait, what time did we start? Did we start a little late?
We started a little late, a touch late.
We've been going for like 37 minutes.
Okay, we're good then. We're good.
Yeah.
We got stuff to do out on the dyno, right?
I was looking at the idea board
Mm-hmm.
that sits at the back of the room, and I see, blower tear down, and I was like,
Mhm.
wait, we did that, check.
We did that.
And then I'm
check.
looking at the one like below it,
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
it is on track still.
oh,
Yeah,
it is on track. It's actually on the dyno.
it is. It is on dyno. So yeah, keep an eye out for a video in the next couple days. You guys might enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
I would say it's like,
I'll say if you guys like new GT500 stuff, you like the video that's coming out.
how about like world's first GT500 stuff?
Ooh. We're
Yeah.
getting into micro records. Brian's fangirling out back here.
Brian's like, oh, wait, I gotta edit this, guys. Hold on.
Guys, shut up.
No pressure.
We're laying it on thick for you. But yeah, sometime soon we'll have a video for you.
Yeah.
We can't say when it's going to be. It'll be though.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember, follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTubes. B-Roll puts in a lot of work to get these things out, as long with everyone else here. My man Joe here, going to go back to tuning our new project that we have. And yeah, give us a call, sales and support. Let us know what you need. Take care of you.
If you want to get screwed up in the VR world, hit us up, bruh.
Yeah, they don't want these. They don't want the smoke.
They don't want to catch the smoke. But until next week, guys, have fun. Have a safe New Year's. Don't drink and drive.
See you next
Don't
decade.
do anything your parents won't do. Dad joke of the year. See you next year.
Yeah, see you next decade.
My bad, man. I'm behind
Next
the
level.
times.
Next level.
Next level. Next level dad joke.
Bye, guys.
Everybody.